So there are a few questions about velocity. Firstly, what is velocity? Velocity is the sum of the estimates of the work completed in the previous iteration. So it's an historical, empirical measure of our ability, or the team's ability, to deliver functionality in terms of their estimated effort for each item. Why do we not re-estimate velocity as we go? Well, it's really not worth it. You can put a lot of effort into trying to make your velocity estimates correct in some sense, but you're better off relying on the principle of yesterday's weather, the idea that the team will do roughly the same amount of work next week as it did this week, next iteration as it did this iteration, and roll the values forward that way. So we use velocity to predict the shortest reasonable timescale, which is the entire iteration, how much work we think we're going to be able to do in future, all other things being equal. In 3, 2, 1. Why do we not adjust velocity to take into account changes to the number of members in the team or some other environmental factor? Well, it's very difficult to divide up your velocity and figure out who contributed what to it. It's also very divisive to the team to try and do that. So it's not obvious how much you would adjust the velocity by because one member of a team of 4 is not going to be present. You also don't need to over the length of an entire project or a smaller release within a project. Because we use the principle of yesterday's weather, we can say this week we did 17 units, so we will schedule in 17 units of work next week. We know that somebody's not going to be in the team, so we know that's probably not all going to get done. Since we've prioritized those items in terms of the most valuable ones being done first, if a lower value item drops off the end of the iteration, that's not the end of the world, it can be moved into the next iteration. Our velocity will be lower, which means that the following iteration, when we imagine somebody might be back or some other thing is going to change, we will undercommit. We will give ourselves time to catch up, and then over time we can expect the velocity to converge back to pretty much the value I had before. Because we plan to a near horizon, and because we plan based on recent historical evidence about what we can get done, over the longer term, we can rely on this mechanism being self-correcting and everything will pretty much even out.